Street, right beside the, where,
River Street.
it's River, Davis, and Ada. It's right beside Hampton Square. There used to be 3 houses there.
Yeah.
Now there's none. It's just a nice, pretty piece of ground. So, and it's, you know, and again, you're looking at that. Think of what tax revenue is going to be for that going off. Just, you know, as the motel, plus the people you're going to employ. You know, when I built Black Sheep, now I built it uptown, not downtown. I still employed 44 people. That's the first year. Plus the other thing, and because of a lot of people here, we got Sunday sales through. And we got it through just at the right time, because what you said is that Union County, York County, they're looking at us too. We've been the pretty child. And fortunately enough that you know, the city saw that. We needed that revenue. And it was one of the lowest key campaigns that probably ever been run in the history of Blue Ridge. I think it was just low key. We just asked for help. Let's keep our city the way it is. I've said way too much tonight. I'm tired. I'm old.
And I want to give a thanks to the council, because without some of those things happening, we wouldn't have the extra revenue. And the council is responsible for helping make those things happen and helping to support our businesses as well as our citizens. So that, I mean, I think we all want that. I just think we're having a hard time getting to that for some reason. So next, Brenda, you're done?
I got a question. Do you feel like, I mean, y'all have some great ideas. I'm all for improving that. Do you feel like to be able to do those ideas, or some of these ideas, that you have to have a DDA? Because 2020 keeps going back, DDA 2020, DDA 2020. That's what I mean, do you feel like you have to have that, or is there means that you can do that without having a DDA?
Some of it for fun.
They're good ideas, a lot of them. I mean, I think there's a lot of great ideas.
I know that some of, and I'll let Steve address this too. My reason and my push for DDAs are not for the parking deck and those type of things. That's important. That's very important, because if you saw the pictures on my phone from parking from the Arts in the Park this last weekend, I don't know, was that the biggest Arts in the Park fall festival we've ever had?
Yeah.
People work hard,
my
everybody,
question is,
but
can it
it's
be
for
done
folks
without DDA?
like me and you that really need to borrow money for expansions and things like that. It gives us a tool. In the last, with the economy, and I'm not looking to borrow money, so it's not all about me. I mean, I'm doing good to pay everything I got there. So, you know, but for people that want a future, want to be a business owner, and they need a way to borrow money, and they may not have, they may have never been in business before, so they don't have, you know, something to prove that they can sustain the loan. You know, so Georgia First and Georgia Cities comes in and they do the studies for them, basically for pennies. And, you know, a lot of people can't afford to do it up front, and they've got to make sure that their plan's going to work. So they help them with getting this low interest money. But that's the folks that I want to see us do it for. Is those people that want a chance to be an entrepreneur.
My question was, can we do this without it? Can we do some of these things to make our city good?
We're not going to be able to, because
well, I mean, he's talking about a lot of
legislation
private
is
money.
making it
People are
more
offering
difficult.
private money. That's what I'm saying. Can it still be done with the right paperwork and getting it done?
They have some ideas that are so low cost, and I'm sorry, you.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. I'm just wanting to know if it can be done without that, because they got great ideas on some of this.
It would be hard, Anthony, to answer. It would be harder. Go ahead,
This-
Sam.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it'd be harder, but I'm
The DDA, which is made up of council members, local people,
Right.
businessmen, okay?
Right.
It's an army of government. Okay. Council, each of them could appoint kind of what the mayor did, and we could be working on gateways, we could be working on signage, okay?
So you think that can happen without a DDA?
It-
That was my question. All that.
It can happen, okay? But the DDA is the vehicle that drives the program, because you've got a board of directors that are looking at everything you're doing and reviewing, and most of them are professional people. So it's kind of like, can we do it? Yeah, we can do it. We'll work harder. I got no problem. And the DDA, to me, is something that is the vehicle to get us where we want to go. But more important than that, we're the bodies that will do it. So let the mayor appoint more committees. And I don't have any problem knocking on doors to raise money. Especially when you're talking about signage, gateways, and things to bring it in here. But when you don't buy into the vehicle, you're going to work harder.
If they didn't work, there wouldn't be 169 cities out there with DDAs.
Even like Bob said,
Well, no, that's
bathrooms.
still a
Yeah, they could be done
question.
with
My
supplies.
question is, can we do it, or can we not do it? That's my question.
Some-
You could help us raise money,
Some
wouldn't you?
pieces of it.
I work hard all the time.
Yeah.
I'm down here, you'll notice, you come by our shop, you'll see us
Pieces
out
of it
late
could
at
be.
night, we stay open with the restaurant hours, we work hard, I work my job, we work her job. We've
But
always
because-
put our effort into the city.
Because of the Renaissance Act, they're putting more and more restrictions on things, and so those kind of things are gonna limit cities to being able to sign on to these, giving permission for them to go for those low interest loans. Things are changing. DCA is gonna require it, so it's gonna make it harder without the DDA. And, that's not a secret. Go to the classes, understand it, know what's happening. Joe Horton was here off and on in the beginning, and, ask those folks.
Joe,
They
in
know.
fact, anytime we want Joe, who's a PhD, who's one of the most respected people, in the government around here as far as, what goes on in different areas of creating.
He is the man. If you ask anyone,
Well,
he
he is.
knows how to make a city be what it wants to be and be at its full potential.
He fell in love with Blue.
Let me answer that too, if you don't mind. Just like parking, I was assigned to parking, we've already started implementing ideas that won't cost a dime. We're working with the churches, and that was one of the ideas the 2020 group came up with, to talk to the churches, and it won't cost us anything, but it's going to be a way for us to provide parking. If they come on board, and some of the pastors have actually agreed to do that. So yeah, some of it can be done, but the bigger picture, those things can't.
One thing with the DDA, okay, city council controls that, is that right?
They report to the city council. City council appoints the members. A member of city council can sit on it. But they're not an arm of the government. They're working as a downtown development authority.
Who do they answer to?
They basically answer to everybody who's involved in the downtown of the city.
And they come back to the city
But they
council
come back-
for anything that would be involved with the city. They could sign off on if Anthony wanted to borrow money through Georgia First. Their director could say, we think he has a viable product, and, we think that we want to support him, they would sign off.
But if you have a city council that, is detrimental to the city, then, I think it's something to be leery of.
The homework's out there. It is kind of difficult to understand, like Carly said, if we can get GMA here, and we've talked about getting GMA here, they've been willing to do classes. It's expensive for them to do those classes, so I don't want to bring them in and people be disrespectful in the class. I want them to be very serious about the time they put into it. It's a lengthy class. I believe it was 6 hours or 8 hours, I can't remember. But, you got to invest the time. You're only going to get something out of it if you take the time to find out what's going on.
John, my only comment to you, since all this started, and to the downtown business people that are here, is that so many cities have gone to development authorities versus downtown development authorities to get away from what residents think it's all about or what the businesses think it's all about, and do an overall city planning adventure instead of just designating downtown development authority. So if this goes, I would really want to see a Blue Ridge Development Authority, not downtown Blue Ridge, because there's enough of that going on.
And Blue Ridge is small enough, Carly, I think that's very possible. And I don't think we need to, this is my personal opinion, and I've not discussed it with anyone yet, but I don't think it's just about the city of Blue Ridge. With what's happening, or fixing to happen in Murphy, and what's fixing to happen in Talking Rock, the mayor of Morganton, the mayor of McCaysville, and the county commissioner and I all need to sit down and come up with, and Jan Hackett and I have discussed this, get something kind of, what is your council looking for? What are they wanting to bring to the table? Do they have folks needing jobs? Do they want folks to bring in new hotels? And that's a big thing right now, in case most of you don't know it. There's a company that is trying to buy every hotel from Jasper to Murphy at this point. They want to have the monopoly. So, those people need to come to the table and say, what can we bring to Murphy? I want jobs for folks. That's what I'm asking for. How do they get those jobs? How do they find out about those jobs? Do I need to go to the school board and say, Do you need to add another class or some training to help them be able to fulfill those jobs that you're gonna have with that hotel? You know, I mean, I wanna help them. So,
There's a phenomenal amount of visionariness here, and when you look at the Blue Ridge Business Association, our city council members, our chamber of commerce, our independent entrepreneurs and different things, there's a horrific amount of intelligence that lies in our midst, and that's what makes us so beautiful and so unique. And I think, you know, the challenge as a visionary, you have to have the strength and the courage to walk through dark chambers, but you have to teach. And communication is life and death to us all. And we're all so interdependent on one another. And I think the biggest break in our wheel is just poor communication. Now, via our Chamber of Commerce and our business associations, the channels of communication have to happen because there's 1,000 different things that go on in our streets every given day of our lives, and we're not always privileged to know about it. What happens on the east side is totally different than south, east, north, and west, for example. But just the bridge building is a very critical thing. And I think, you know, I mean, and just a simple example, 2 couples from South Africa happened to stay at the bed and breakfast 2 weeks ago. They went on down to New Orleans for 4 days booking. They got sick of the French Quarter and they spent 10 hours driving the whole way back to spend 1 more night in Blue Ridge.
that says something for
Now,
Blue Ridge.
it does. But, I mean, that's a very, very powerful energy and a very powerful force. And I think, you know, through our directors and our management and our team players, Bridge build that communication because there's over 144 different businesses. Like Carla saying, you know, hurts have happened because of signages. So hurts have happened because you have municipal islands within the city. When can we come together as one body to say, let's be fair to everybody? That's the whole thing. And as a professional, it's just the artist, the gifts and the invitations are there. If you are a believer and you walk that path, you'll die believing it. And I think we're all about the same thing. It is just how can we build our different divisions, both city council and professional entities, how can we bridge communication to help one another? Because our worlds move 1,000 times faster than they did 10 years ago. You know, it is not that we have the grace of meeting at the post office to have our 5-minute chat. That's how we build businesses, and that's how white personalism is such a beautiful thing. We live in the iPod worlds today, but we still need communication to filter and process. That's the whole thing, and I think that's where we're sadly lacking in a lot of areas.
And one of those things, you know, we actually approved to let Fan and Focus video all of our council meetings, and so that we can make that public, so that people aren't just assuming that this happened at the council meeting. They know what actually happened. So I think we're working toward that. We're working toward redoing our website maybe, and making us more accessible and getting information there. But coming to our workshops and coming to our meetings, those can be
But to
pretty
take the
tough.
reactiveness out of it too, Mayor, it's like our professional people, we all have communications of email. It would be good to set up a business email, and that memo, that one-page memo synopsis goes out, so everybody's firing on the same cylinder at one time for the next 30 days of our meetings.
And I think another thing that, you know, even I had mentioned to Bill Sowers today, our agendas, you know, a lot of people I get calls and texts, you know, the day before the meeting, and I don't even know what's on the agenda. So I think the more open government we can have here, and we post things and we let people know that we want them to show up. If they want to be on the workshop, we need to have maybe an earlier cutoff date. And I did call our legal organ and find out that we need to do that before Thursday at 10. Am I right? No, that still wouldn't work, would it? Because our meetings are on Tuesday. It's going to be tough, but I mean, we need to do something to where people know when we're meeting. They
But
know
if
when
you teach them what the boundaries and the parameters are, they will comply with it, even if it is a 5-day grace down period. So, you know, activity and focus can be put together in certain ways.
And it used to work because everybody knew when our meeting.
Yes.
They've changed. Things have changed. You know, the times, the day. You know. Anyway, so yeah, we need to work toward that. I totally agree with you. Does anybody else have a comment about that?
I was just Donna, I know you and I value what you said, and Angie, I appreciate the fact that you said that you would sit back and support this. Thank you very much. I do just want to say one thing, because we come from such a simplicity, I mean, I think we like the simplicity of Blue Ridge. We want growth, but we love the fact that we live this wonderful life, don't we? And we live in a very blessed place, I think. That's why we're here. I know that's why I'm here. You know, I look at this situation like looking at I serve on many boards when I was in Pinellas County. And there are children who can't go to college because they have no money. They don't have the resource. But there are resources if you investigate that they can get a loan and they can get an education and then they can grow to be a responsible individual in the United States of America and make a difference in the world we live in. And that's really what this is all about. We have avenues to use, and you have to be able to borrow money. I mean, let's look at the world we live in today. Look at our kids. I mean, they have to be able to go to a bank. They have to be able to go to government entities, and they have to be able to go to private organizations and say, I need to borrow money because I want to be a business owner one day. That's what gives you hope and dreams. So that is exactly what the city has to do. That's what a government has to do. I mean, look, we're all fearful of government. We know, we look at big government, look at Congress, we look at, you know, you watch the channels, the congressional hearings, it's a disgrace with some of the things that go on. But the fact of the matter is we still have to believe in our system. And we have to take advantage of these opportunities. So when you say you're fearful of money, how do you grow if you don't borrow? I mean, I'm a business owner. If I didn't walk into the bank when I didn't have 2 cents and say, please give me a line of credit for $5,000, I would have never owned a business. A student that needs to get an education, that wants to be a doctor, you know, to make a difference in the world we live in. We can't be afraid, we can't be fearful, we have to open our minds.
And with the economy we just came through, it's more difficult to borrow money for commercial business use than it's ever been. So, hey, Mr. Rennick, we really, it's almost 9 o'clock.
I'd like to just stand up.
So you just needed to make adjustments and things?
We need a comfort break. But I'm backing up. That's Cindy's kid. I have an idea. I was listening, and Steve made a great point that this is a 2020 thing. 20 years from now, things can be different. And Cindy made a great presentation about some of these different projects that we could do within time. But I think if we just didn't table so much, and we just started on one of these projects, I'd like to take the bathrooms. Now I'll tell you why. Because Mayor and Bill, we talked about this a couple of years ago. We have so many events coming to Blue Ridge. And in the park, we have arts in the park, we have jazz, blues, all of these different things, and it's going to even get worse, okay? And I made a suggestion a couple of years ago, I think 4 years ago, that we take the bathrooms in the park and make them women's, and then rent porta potties next to them for the men. And did we not do that, Mayor?
And it helped.
Yes.
During the events.
It helped. So if we have our bathroom situation, we could take that as our first project, and we could get it done. What do you think? And then we could go on, after we did that, we could go on to the next step and do another project. We could just pick one here, and we could get it done and finish it, be done with it. Don't you think? Pay as you go. What do you think? I like that idea. If we get something done here tonight, we can untable one thing, and that's public bathrooms.
Well, let me tell you, in case you don't know, there are a couple of folks that have taken on the downtown bathrooms.
Oh.
I have said this more, and it got some donations. Home Depot's been very generous and some things like that. Let me express my concern with all of it. I think it's a great thing to remodel those bathrooms. I still don't think they're big enough. I have always said we need to take the roof off of that building, we need to go up, and we need to figure out if we're going out to the street or if we're not going out to the street, and we need to do it right. I mean, I appreciate all the effort, and they're gonna move forward with or without the help of this council, but that's a place we really need to spend money. And if you remember when I suggested bathrooms in the park by the children's playground, everybody laughed at me and said they'll never be used. Well, if you were cleaning those bathrooms, you would realize how much they're used. They're used.